broadcasting live on location at the Veterans Memorial Park in Huntsville, Alabama. Today's live stream will be in regard to Week 11 of college football games, which are scheduled to take place between November 4th and 10th of 2024. All games discussed today will take place on November 9th of 2024. In the live stream today, we will go over which teams are ranked in the top 25 AP poll. Yes, I am aware of other polls out there used to determine championships or playoffs. The AP poll has been around the longest, so we will use that one for the purposes of the discussion today. We will then go over the top 25 matchups. After that, we will dig deeper within the top 25 matchups. The pros have their thoughts on the point spread or margin of victory for the game in discussion. We will then talk about the over-under, which is the total points the pros think both teams in said game will score. After going over this, I will go over whether I agree or disagree with them or not. I will do the best I can to explain my reasoning. After this, we will do the same thing for a segment called Game of Intrigue. In this Game of Intrigue, both teams talked about are not ranked in the top 25. I will find things related to both schools, sports related or not. Of course, then we will go over what the pros say will be the margin of victory is, along with the over-under. I again will state if I agree or disagree with the pros and do the best I can to explain my reasoning. So now, let's look and see who's in the top 25. Can y'all hear me out there in YouTube land? Can every one of y'all hear me? Please let me know in the comments if you can hear me. Again, I am broadcasting live from location from the Veterans Memorial Park in Huntsville, Alabama for this college football live stream, Week 11 picks from my perspective. Can y'all hear me out there in YouTube land? All right, so with that, let's go over who the top 25 AP poll is for this week. Number 1, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, Miami and Florida. Number 5, Texas. Number 6, Penn State. Number 7, Tennessee. Number 8, Indiana. Number 9, BYU. Number 10, Notre Dame. Number 11, Alabama. Number 12, Boise State. Number 13, SMU. Number 14, LSU. Number 15, Texas A&M. Hello to Codan's channel. Hello to Pankaj, Nishad2612. Hi there, William. I appreciate very much for each and every one of you joining me here on this live broadcast today. It is very much appreciated. We're going to continue now with the top 25, starting with number 15, Texas A&M. Number 14 was LSU. Number 16, Ole Miss. Number 17, Iowa State. Number 18, Army. Number 19, Clemson. Number 20, Washington State. Number 21, Colorado. Number 22, Kansas State. Number 23, Pittsburgh. Number 24, Vanderbilt. Number 25, Louisville. Hello there to Will and Pankaj. I am from North Alabama, actually, United States. That's where I'm from. Anyway, let's move on. In the top 25 matchups for this week, we have number 3, Ohio State versus Purdue. Number 4, Miami and Florida versus Georgia Tech. Number 5, Texas versus Florida. Number 2, Georgia versus number 16, Ole Miss. Number 8, Indiana versus Michigan. Number 17, Iowa State versus Kansas. Number 18, Army versus North Texas. Number 19, Clemson versus Virginia Tech. Number 21, Colorado versus Texas Tech. Number 24, Vanderbilt versus South Carolina. Number 1, Oregon versus Maryland. Number 7, Tennessee versus Mississippi State. Number 10, Notre Dame versus Florida State. Number 11, Alabama versus number 14, LSU. Number 6, Penn State versus Washington. Number 12, Boise State versus Nevada. Number 23, Pittsburgh versus Virginia. Number 9, BYU versus Utah. Number 20, Washington State versus Utah State. That is really cool that you're from India. I'm glad that you are joining me on this live broadcast today regarding college football. So thank you very much, and thank you to everyone who has joined in this live stream. Number 13, SMU. Number 15, Texas A&M. Number 22, Kansas State. Number 25, Louisville are idle, meaning they have no game scheduled, and it's commonly called a bye week. And later in this broadcast, I will go over who my game of intrigue is, but I'm going to kind of get y'all thinking on that. So, let's see. Now, let's go for the fun part, the part that's the main part of this broadcast. First game we're going to look at today is number 3, Ohio State versus Purdue. The pros favor Ohio State to win this game by 38.5 or 39 points. Purdue in football is the epitome of terrible football. Purdue won the first game of the season. Since then, they have lost 7 straight. Yes, you heard that right. 7 straight they have lost. Purdue is absolutely terrible in all areas with offense, defense, and special teams. It's almost like the dark side from Star Wars, surrendering to the Jedi Force and then placing their lightsabers in the trash and hoping no one will take over their territory. Ohio State has had 2 tough battles this season with Oregon and barely lost. The other tough one, which they barely lost, was to Penn State. Including this game, it gets easier for Ohio State to win. Ohio State excels in defense, is above average on offense. Ohio State will score quickly. I believe Purdue will not be able to keep up. In fact, I wonder if this game ends in a shutout where Ohio State does not allow Purdue to score any points at all. It is very much possible to see that in this game. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this one. Ohio State will win this game by 39 points. The over-under is 53.5 or 54. I will go over the 54. Next game we're going to look at today is number 4, Miami in Florida versus Georgia Tech. No, I can't do that right now, but thank you. I prefer to just speak behind the camera. It's a little easier for me to do it this way. So thank you for watching, but I can't do that right now. But I do appreciate you watching. Let's see. Next game we're going to look at it again is number 4 in Miami versus Georgia Tech. In this game, the pros favor Miami and Florida to win by 11 over Georgia Tech. The over-under is 63.5 or 64. Georgia Tech is on a 2-game losing streak. The offense is subpar and can't seem to score when important. The defense is allowing too many points to be scored by opponents. This looks to continue in this game. Miami and Florida is stellar in all areas of offense, defense, and special teams. 5 of their games, they have scored 50-plus points. This leads me to believe the winning will continue. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros. Miami and Florida will win by 11. I will go over the 64. Let's see. Next game we're going to look at this week is number 5, Texas versus Florida. The pros favor Texas to win over Florida by 21.5 or 22 points. The over-under is 47.5 or 48. Florida is in a tailspin. They win games against non-ranked top 25 opponents, mostly, and they lose to top 25 ranked teams, and then some. On paper, Florida should not be having the problems with the talent they have. Let's explore something. The question I wonder, can a team of talent like this lose for no reason? And I say, yes, it's a possible thing. Or is that despite the talent they have, they suck? I'm actually going to say yes and no. No, because Florida has had it tough being in the toughest conference, playing against teams within the Southeastern Conference who are highly ranked within the top 25. Other than yes, Florida sucks. What wins they do have are to mediocre teams or to teams who suck worse than they do. I know it may be harsh, but I'm calling it like I see it. Texas, despite losing to Georgia, has been very strong on their run game and pass game on offense. Defensively, they are above average. Texas, in their wins, are not known to struggle in that matter. Vanderbilt was a fluke in the sense of struggle. Texas will run this game and run like the wind. Florida will not be able to keep up. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on who wins this game, but I disagree with the margin of victory. That will be by more than what the pros say. My prediction is Texas will win this game by 24 over Florida, and I'm going over the 48. And the reason I'm going over on that is I think, again, Texas, in the situation with the way the pros are looking at it, have them a little bit underranked and everything else with that. So next game we're going to look at this week is the number 2 team Georgia versus number 16 Ole Miss. In this game, the pros favored Georgia to win over Ole Miss by 2.5 or 3 points. The over-under is 54.5 or 55. Both teams are good on defense. Offensively, Georgia looks better on paper. Good defense can win games, which makes this one likely to be a close game. On offense, Georgia is better in the run game, while Ole Miss is better in the pass game. Excuse me. This may come down to who has the football at the very end of the game. Georgia and Ole Miss both have been struggling some in getting the ball down the field. For these reasons, I'm going to actually agree with the pros on this one. Georgia wins the game by 3 points over Ole Miss. I will go over the 55. So the next game we're going to look at today is number 8, Indiana versus Michigan. The pros favor Indiana to win by 14 over Michigan. The over-under is 48.5 or 49. Michigan seemed to have potential early on to win games and do good things. The problem is they've had struggle wins, which is not like them. It also isn't like them to lose as they have, but here we are trying to figure out how it has come to this point. This just isn't their year. On all sides of things, offense isn't there, defense downright sucks. Special teams is an alien concept to Michigan. Indiana fans are asking themselves, is this real or a dream? Indiana has not lost a game yet and are still underrated. Most are coming around and believing in them. Yes, it is real, no dream. Dominance is what they have in winning big on their opponents. Offense, special teams, and defense are stellar. Indiana continues to amaze even the critics. I think this dominance continues in this game for Indiana. For these reasons, I'm going to agree with the pros on this game. Indiana will win by 14 over Michigan. I will go over the 49. The next game we're going to look at today is number 17, Iowa State versus Kansas. The pros favor Iowa State to win this game by 3 over Kansas. The over-under is 50.5 or 51. Iowa State took a tumble after barely losing to unranked Texas Tech. I'm not so sure Iowa State needs to be ranked as high as they are due to recent struggle wins. The loss, Iowa State has slipped to average on offense and slightly below average on defense. I honestly think their struggles for Iowa State will continue. Kansas has been on the short end of the stick with struggle losses to me personally suck, and to the normal fan is downright heart-wrenching. Kansas is having an off year in football, but generally that's okay since they usually are not known for winning lots of games in football. But despite that, usually they win more games than they have. My gut feeling is telling me that Kansas wants a win so bad they can almost taste it. I believe this game will be close. For these reasons, I will disagree with the pros on this game, both in who wins and in the margin of victory. My prediction, Kansas will win this game as the underdog by 1 point over Iowa State. Yes, I know that's hard to see this happen, but I do. I stand by my thoughts. Kansas wins by 1. I will go under the 51. Next game we're going to look at today is number 18, Army versus North Texas. North Texas is terrible on defense since they allow way too many points to be scored against them by their opponents. For it being known to be in general weaker conference compared to others, their offense is below average due to having issues getting the ball down the field. Sometimes it works, other times it don't. For some reason, the pros are underestimating how Army is doing this year. Army has defeated everyone they have played by a decent, sizable margin. The pros favor Army to win this game by 5 over North Texas. North Texas is not that great this year. Army is winning games like like Sonic the Hedgehog does by getting the gold rings and keeping Dr. Robotnik from getting the Chaos Emeralds. North Texas is the equivalent of losing Fighter in Mortal Kombat. North Texas will not be able to keep up with Army. I agree with the pros in having Army win this game, but I disagree with the margin of victory due to Army being better than most people estimate. My prediction is Army will win by 10 over North Texas. The over-under is 63.5 or 64. I will go under the 64. The next game we're going to look at this week will be Clemson versus Virginia Tech. The pros favor Clemson to defeat Virginia Tech by 6.5 or 7 points. The over-under is 53.5 or 54. Virginia Tech is an average team. They struggle on defense and barely sputtering on offense. All of the losses they have each has been by less than 7 points. Clemson had a good string of wins after losing to then number 1 Georgia early in the season. They lost to Louisville this past week. Clemson is average usually on offense and slightly below average on defense. Clemson, if they want a chance at the playoffs, need to win this one for sure. Clemson looks better on paper than Virginia Tech. It will be a close game and hard for Clemson to win, but I think they will. Maybe the Enter Sandman song being played will help Virginia Tech. Or it's probably more ways to make noise in this game. The Sandman will enter for Virginia Tech and will help Clemson to win due to Virginia Tech trying to get much needed sleep. Because that's how they play on the field. They play like they're sleepwalking. But they won't. I agree with the pros on this one. When Clemson defeats Virginia Tech by 7, I will go over the 54. Next game we're going to look at today is number 21, Colorado versus Texas Tech. For Texas Tech, all but one of their wins have been struggle wins. The struggle comes in many facets. They overall struggle to win games in general or play a full game of football. They struggle on offense since they have very hard time getting to the red zone. They struggle more by putting points on the board or the lack of once in the red zone, and they struggle defensively in the amount of points their opponents score on them. Colorado has improved how they are doing in the run game. The passing game still needs work, but it also is improving. Early on, they've struggled in the defense area, but are prevailing. Despite the issues, Colorado is doing better this year compared to last year. They are top tier within their conference, and the hard work has been fruitful this year for most part. In this game, the pros favor Colorado to win this game by 3 over Texas Tech. Both teams will keep it close and most likely score points very quickly. For these reasons, I agree with the pros. Colorado will win this game by 3 points. The over-under is 62.5 or 63. The number seems a little bit high for the over-under, but due to high scoring ability for both teams, I will go over the 63. Next game we're going to look at this week is number 24, Vanderbilt versus South Carolina. In this game, the pros favor South Carolina to defeat Vanderbilt by 3.5 or 4 points. The over-under is 45.5 or 46. South Carolina can't seem to get a break from playing ranked teams within the top 25. 2 of their 3 losses have been by 3 points or less to those ranked within the top 25. This shows to me that despite losing those 2 games, they can keep up and do well at it. The other loss was to Ole Miss and was just terrible on all sides of the ball for offense, defense, and special teams within that game. South Carolina has proven they can be good on offense by scoring points and good on defense due to lack of points scored by a majority of their opponents. Vanderbilt is hard to read, much less predict. This year they are having their best year of college football since 2018, so it's been a while. Offense is okay, defense is stagnant, and if not careful, it's like the mosquitoes that won't go away. Normally, this style of play leads to crap for football, but it's somehow working for Vanderbilt. This would not work with any other team. Vanderbilt has great long-range field goal kicking, which may help them in this game. I think South Carolina has more talent and ability than Vanderbilt. Because of the previous mentioning of Vanderbilt and their long-range field goal kicking, I think it will be a close game, but Vanderbilt will not win this one. I agree with the pros. South Carolina defeats Vanderbilt by 4 points. I will go over the 46. Next game we're going to look at today is number 1, Oregon versus Maryland. The pros favor Oregon to win by 25 points over Maryland. The over-under is 57.5 or 58. Maryland has not been known to win a lot of football games, and it shows this year as well. They struggle badly with defense. Their offense is like a leaky water faucet that takes forever to fill up an actual glass of water. Maryland does have one noteworthy win over the University of Southern California, commonly known as USC, but that was a struggle win. Maryland is going to have a tough time scoring points versus Oregon. Oregon, for most part, is scoring big-time points against opponents. Outside of the struggle with Ohio State, it has been smooth sailing for Oregon. Oregon has great offense, both running and in passing. Special teams aren't needed much, but due to how good everything is, they are good when they are used, but they're not needed much. They are still very good. Oregon will score quickly and make it hard for Maryland to do so. For these reasons, I'm going to agree with the pros on this one. Oregon will defeat Maryland by 25 points. I will go over the 58. Next game we're going to look at today is number 7, Tennessee versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State overall is absolutely terrible. Offensively, they do put points on the board, but it's never enough to get them to victory. The defense is worse than the offense, but still absolutely terrible. The team has no drive or team dynamic, and it's like they have been spaghettified from being sucked into a black hole. This season, there is no escape from it. Excuse me. The pros favor Tennessee to defeat Mississippi State by 23.5 or 24 points. The over-under is 61.5 or 62. Tennessee as a whole lately has been getting struggle wins. A win is a win, but considering they have wins against AP poll top 25 ranked teams, it does say something. The Southeastern Conference is a tough conference. I get it. Offense and defense are okay. In this game, Tennessee is the better team. Mississippi State will lose big to Tennessee. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros on this one. Tennessee will defeat Mississippi State by 24, and I will go over the 62. Next game we're going to look at today is the number 10 Notre Dame team versus Florida State. The pros favor Notre Dame to defeat Florida State by 26 points. The over-under is 42.5 or 43. Outside of this year, if the margin of victory predicted in this game were what they are saying now, I would have laughed at it. Things change, and this game reminds me of the Twilight Zone. This game should be close since historically it has been, but not this year. Florida State and offense, defense, and special teams all suck. Nothing is going right for Florida State, and it's sad to see how quickly a team goes down the toilet and into the sewers. Florida State is the it clown, but doesn't scare anyone anymore. Florida State needs to find drive, but I don't think it will be this year. It also shows more than what meets the eye, as the Transformers would say, to see this sudden decline. What is causing this terrible team to be as they are, no one knows for sure, but it is carrying over from last season when they played Georgia in a bowl game. Notre Dame is playing lights out and doing better than expected. The Northern Illinois loss still haunts them, but it has helped them to play better. Offense is above average since they're scoring a lot of points. Defense is above average since they're not allowing many points to be scored by other teams. Notre Dame has 3 wins within the top 25 ranked poll from the AP poll. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros. Notre Dame is going to win this game by 26 points over Florida State. I will go over the 43. The next game that we're going to look at is a game that some people have been really waiting on this year. It is number 11, Alabama, versus number 14, LSU. The pros favor Alabama to defeat LSU by 2.5 or 3 points. The over-under is 58.5 or 59. LSU has been winning by decent margins to teams outside of the conference and struggling against Southeastern Conference teams. The 2 losses LSU has been to AP poll top 25 teams. LSU historically has been stellar on defense. Right now, I would rate their defense as okay. Offense overall is flat, but does interesting things from time to time. Alabama has been doing well offensively for most part. Defense has been okay. Despite a couple of hiccups, Alabama has been playing well. They still are learning new coaching style from Kalen DeBoer, the coach for the University of Alabama. I think if Alabama wins this game, the rest of the season will secure their destiny this season. This game historically has been close in most years this game has been played. This year is also no different. For this game, I will agree with the pros on who will win this game, but I disagree on the margin of victory. My prediction, Alabama wins this game by 1 point over LSU. I will go over the 59. Next game we're going to look at is Penn State versus Washington. In this game, Penn State is favored by the pros to defeat Washington by 13 points. The over-under is 45.5 or 46 points. Defensively for Washington, I don't know if they even know what that concept is. Offense is stagnant at best. Sometimes that works, and other times not so much. It's hard to be stagnant in offense when playing a team like Penn State. Penn State will score quickly and play good defense, which they are known for. With the exception of last week versus Ohio State, the Penn State team is doing very well on offense. They have common denominator of 1. The Penn State team, one win and 1 loss against an AP poll top 25 ranked team for football team. Penn State will do everything to avenge their loss last week to Ohio State. For these reasons, I agree with the pros in having Penn State to win, but I disagree on the margin of victory. My prediction, Penn State will defeat Washington by 9 points, and I will go over the 46. The next game we're going to look at today is number 12, Boise State versus Nevada. Nevada, it looks like instead of focusing as a group, as your Wolfpack name for the mascot suggests, it looks like it's been nothing more than lone wolves running the show. This is definitely not good. For the most part, for Nevada has seen the extreme side of struggle. Offense gets going early but can't last, and defense is like watching a fight scene in slow motion and, putting it mildly, downright sucks. Nevada, win or lose, has had major struggle in 6 of their 10 games played so far. I'm not sure this game will be a struggle, but Nevada is going to have a hard time scoring against Boise State. Boise State offensively is above average, and it shows both in their run game and in their passing game. Defense is slightly below average due to points allowed by their opponents. Boise State has been on the receiving end of general college football chaos. If not for this chaos, I don't think Boise State would be ranked as high as they are. Don't get me wrong, Boise State is a decent football team, but I'm not sure on how they should be ranked due to the Mountain West Conference historically being a weaker conference. Boise State is decent this year, so I'll give them credit where credit is due, but I still think I question the ranking outside. I question the ranking on the game. Outside of that, Boise State is favored to win or defeat Nevada by 24.5 or 25 points. The over-under is 60.5 or 61. I agree with the pros in favoring Boise State to win over Nevada, but I disagree on the margin of victory. I think the pros' margin of victory is way too high. My prediction, Boise State wins by 14 over Nevada, and I will go over the 61. Next game we're going to look at this week will be number 23, Pittsburgh versus Virginia. The pros favor Pittsburgh to defeat Virginia by 7 points. The over-under is 57.5 or 58. Virginia is on a 3-game losing streak, and they have not played an easy schedule. The first part was easy, but the remaining teams they are scheduled to play is going to be brutal. Virginia has average defense, and the offense is okay, but certainly could be better. I actually think Virginia has a chance to win this one. Pittsburgh has won games, but at the high price of struggle. Offense and defense, both for Pittsburgh, has been flat, and I see that trend continuing in this game. The pros favor Pittsburgh in this game to defeat Virginia, and I don't see it. With these thoughts, I will disagree completely with the pros. Virginia does have aces up their sleeve they could and should use. My prediction, Virginia wins this game by 3 points as underdog over Pittsburgh. I will go over the 58. Virginia, with the brutal part of their schedule, won't be brutal until after this game with Pittsburgh. Virginia also rarely loses 3 games in a row, so we shall see how this goes. All right. Next game we're going to look at today is number 9, Brigham Young University versus Utah. For the purpose of entertainment, I'm going to call this football game the Battle of Utah, since both colleges both universities are only 50 miles or less from each other in terms of distance driving from one college to the other. These two schools have historically been good nationally in football. Utah started the season on a high note with 4 wins in a row, then it went downhill from there by losing 4 in a row. On both sides of the ball for offense and defense is average, but not in a good way. Utah has been in the red zone, and success it comes and goes from one side there for Utah. The only thing Utah has is deep passing game, which can be hard to defend. BYU is having their best season up to this point that they've had in the last 40 years. I think BYU knows how to open holes on the field and make big plays somehow. Somehow they are exceedingly well in making something happen when absolutely nothing is there. The trends I speak of looks to carry over for both teams in this game. In this game, BYU is favored to win by 4.5 or 5 points over Utah by the pros. The over-under is 41.5 or 42. Utah has ways to win games in impossible ways historically, but I don't see it with this game. For the reasons I just mentioned, I will agree with the pros in this game. BYU wins this game by 5 points over Utah. I will go over the 42. The last game within the top 25 that we're going to look at for Week 11 will be number 20, Washington State versus Utah State. In this game, the pros favor Washington State to defeat Utah State by 20.5 or 21 points. The over-under is 69.5 or 70. Utah State has defense that is absolutely terrible, so terrible that their opponents have scored 332 points in 8 games. This averages out to 41.5 points a game, which is really not that good when you're trying to be a defensive team. This also accounts for 3 games where their opponents scored 50 or more points. There isn't a word to describe how terrible it is, but the stats speak for themselves. Offense can put up points, but it's flat overall. Washington State is above average on offense and generally average with one exception. They won over San Jose State 54-52. This almost resembles a high school basketball game score. Despite losing to Boise State, the team looks decent. On paper, it looks like Washington State is the better team in question within this game. For these reasons, I will agree with the pros favoring Washington State winning over Utah State, but I disagree on the margin of victory. My prediction, Washington State wins the game by 14 over Utah State. I will go under the 70. I believe the over-under mark that the pros have set are exceedingly high. Let's see, number 13, Southern Methodist University or SMU, number 15, Texas A&M, number 22, Kansas State, and number 25, Louisville, are idle this week, which means they have a bye week due to not having games scheduled this week. Now that we have gone over the top 25 matchups, it's time for the segment called the Game of Intrigue. In this Game of Intrigue, neither team is ranked in the top 25. I will find things related to both teams in question that are related to sports or not. Afterward, we will go through the same process and looking at what the pros say the margin of victory is and the over-under is for what they believe the total points that will be scored between the two teams will be. For this week, the Game of Intrigue is Duke versus NC State. Both teams are not ranked in the top 25. Both teams are from the state of North Carolina. Both teams are in the Atlantic Coastal Conference, commonly called the ACC. Both schools have strong emphasis in medicine. Both schools have been universities over 50 years. Outside of these commonalities, the pros favor NC State to defeat Duke by 3 points. The over-under is 50.5 or 51. Duke has been decent in winning games. However, most of them have been struggle wins. Defense looks average. 2 of their losses have been at AP poll ranked top 25 teams. Due to struggles, Duke offensively is average with a couple of exceptions. In first half of season, NC State is not really known for excelling in football, but they are little below average, overall. If you look at what the average trends have been this college football season, that goes for both offense and defense. NC State does not do well under pressure. The pressure being to win games, win when important, or how they handle blitzes on the field during plays. For these reasons, I am going to completely disagree with the pros. Let's see. I'm going to completely disagree with the pros. My prediction is Duke will win this game as an underdog. Will win the game by 2 points over NC State. Now that we have dug deeper within the top 25 matchups and the game of Intrigue, let's do a quick summary. First with the AP poll top 25, then for the top 25 matchups with also this game of Intrigue that I just went over. So, in order to summarize everything that we've talked about today, let's look at who made the Associated Press top 25 poll. Number 1, Oregon. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, Miami and Florida. Number 5, Texas. Number 6, Penn State. Number 7, Tennessee. Number 8, Indiana. Number 9, Brigham Young University, otherwise known as BYU. Number 10, Notre Dame. Number 11, Alabama. Number 12, Boise State. Number 13, Southern Methodist University, otherwise known as SMU. Number 14, LSU. Number 15, Texas A&M. Number 16, Ole Miss. Number 17, Iowa State. Number 18, Army. Number 19, Clemson. Number 20, Washington State. Number 21, Colorado. Number 22, Kansas State. Number 23, Pittsburgh. Number 24, Vanderbilt. Number 25, Louisville. Now, the top 25 matchups, all of the games will take place on November 9th of 2024, which will be on Saturday. So those top 25 matchups are as follows. Number 3, Ohio State versus Purdue. Number 4, Miami and Florida versus Georgia Tech. Number 5, Texas versus Florida. Number 2, Georgia versus number 16, Ole Miss. Number 8, Indiana versus Michigan. Number 17, Iowa State versus Kansas. Number 18, Army versus North Texas. Number 19, Clemson versus Virginia Tech. Number 21, Colorado versus Texas Tech. Number 24, Vanderbilt versus South Carolina. Number 1, Oregon versus Maryland. Number 7, Tennessee versus Mississippi State. Number 10, Notre Dame versus Florida State. Number 11, Alabama versus number 14, LSU. Number 6, Penn State versus Washington. Number 22, Boise State versus Nevada. Number 23, Pittsburgh versus Virginia. Number 9, Brigham Young University versus Utah. Number 20, Washington State versus Utah State. And again, number 13, SMU. Number 15, Texas A&M. Number 22, Kansas State. Number 25, Louisville, are idle, meaning there's no game scheduled this week. It's commonly called a bye week. And we just looked at the game of Intrigue, which was Duke versus NC State. So now that we've gone over my perspective for the top 25 picks and the game of Intrigue, do any of y'all have any questions, comments, thoughts? I'd like to see what your thoughts are in the comments section in the chat. Let me know what you think, because that's where it stands for week 11. The games in week 11 are, again, from November 4th through November 10th of 2024, and all the games will be taking place primarily on November 9th. So if no one has any questions or comments and stuff, I wish to thank each and every one of you for joining me in this live stream today, which I am broadcasting live from the Veterans Memorial Park in Huntsville, Alabama. Sadel 7, I believe that was what your margin of victory was for one of the games that I called earlier. I don't know for sure, but anyway, again, thank you for joining me on this live broadcast. I will let you know that these college football live streams will be taking place once a week during college football season, and they will be taking place on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of each said week, depending on when the games are and when I'm able to get this stream put together. Also, when we get to the end of the regular season, we will be changing the format just a little bit regarding what we cover regarding the college football conference championships, the playoffs, and the bowl games, and I will go over that process as soon as we get to that point. And that new format will also include the Army-Navy regular season game, which will take place later on as well. So anyway, again, thank you again for joining me on this live broadcast from the Veterans Memorial Park. I'm Sports Live Media. You can find me on YouTube by going to the YouTube search bar, type in Bob Amin, Bobamin. You'll know it's me because I have Sports Live Media burned into a basketball as my avatar. That's how you can find me on YouTube. And also you can follow me on Twitter with my handle at BOBAMIN16. That's Bob Amin 16 with the @ symbol in front of that if you want to find me on Twitter. So again, I thank you again for joining me for this live broadcast, and I hope each and every one of you have a wonderful day. Thanks again. See you next time.